Well, hello, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook. How are you?
And me.
Oh, also, hi, Mike.
Hi, Jake. How you doing?
Hey, how are you? I got to see Mike yesterday in person again. It's been 2 weeks in a row of seeing Mike in person. It's pretty
3D.
fantastic. Pretty
Yeah.
fantastic.
Unfortunately, this morning, stomach is a little queasy.
From seeing me,
No, from the gas station burrito I had for breakfast.
we have now had 2 employees taken down by gas station food. And so I think that means that we can say that our organization is vulnerable to gas station food.
Okay,
Do you have to put that vulnerability in our SOC 2 audit, Mike?
possibly.
um, hey, so yesterday we did a great panel on Cercia. Wait, was it yesterday? 2 days ago.
No, it was Tuesday.
2 days ago. Yeah, I drove to Bremerton yesterday. It was Tuesday. We did a great panel on Cercia.
Mhm.
You can watch it on our YouTube channel. It's really good. We had Mike Borgia, attorney, with us. And if anybody wants the deck, go ahead and email me, jake@criticalinsight.com, and I'll send you a link to the deck. But it was really, really good. Next week is RSA, which is the big security conference in San Francisco. If folks are going, let us know. We'd love to meet up with you. And when I say we, I specifically don't mean Mike. Mike, you're
I
doing
will not be there.
something much more exciting. What are you doing?
Well, I actually do think this is exciting. I don't know if it's more exciting than RSA because I've been to the Code Breakers Ball. But it's the Association of Local Government Auditors. And a friend of mine is a city auditor, City of Seattle, and asked me to present with him at this meeting some things that we did when I worked there. So I'm looking forward to that. So that's
Awesome.
going to be on the 7th. I'll be over in
Yeah, I
Seattle
mean,
doing that.
and when I think excitement, I think auditors.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Actually, the funny thing is one of my good friends here in Seattle is an auditor, and she's actually pretty exciting. So maybe I'll tell her about your conference.
Okay.
Okay, so some big news to tackle. The first one that I really want to tackle is Change Healthcare. Has now said publicly that the bad guys got in through Citrix because there was no MFA.
And in fact, the CEO was dragged in front of Congress and had to say that, which just lit up some, I will say, bipartisanship. Actually,
Yeah,
yeah, they both excoriated him. Yeah, but so the whole Change Healthcare thing and all the money that's been lost by all the clinics and all the doctors having to dig into their own funds
yep.
to be able to pay people, and now they're going to have to go back and they're going to have to audit everything and figure out what needs to be paid for by insurance. All that stuff could have been prevented with Security 101.
Totally Security 101.
Makes me
I
think
mean,
we are doomed.
it is, it is absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
And yet that is what happened. So here's one thing that I want to add to this, right? If this was, I don't know, say, somebody with insurance who filled out a form, and on that
Uh,
form, they said that they had MFA everywhere,
which is
and
what
then
they want.
and then the insurance company came a knocking. Would it be that their insurance claim was denied? What do you think?
Well, I think that conversation is going to take place, actually.
Yeah,
I
I I
do.
I am really curious to hear how that conversation is going to go
Yeah.
with their I guess their insurance carrier, right? Their insurance
Yeah.
carrier, not their broker. Because they presumably would have attested to, yes, we have MFA everywhere, to get their cyber insurance policy.
Well, I did read that one carrier was saying that the change breach and the other one caused by the Move It file transfer
Yeah.
software, they're calling both of those catastrophic losses.
Mm-hmm.
And when insurance companies, drag out the catastrophic word, it's serious.
It is serious. It
Yeah.
is serious. Okay. Another big story. The 2024 data breach investigations report comes out every year. What's it say this time, Mike?
It says what you and I have been saying here,
Oh,
After we did a dive into the healthcare data breaches and found that most of them were caused not by phishing, but by vulnerability exploit.
yep.
And so now the DBIR, right, Data Breach Investigations Report from Verizon says, and this is really interesting, on average, it takes organizations 55 days to take care of 50% of critical vulnerabilities following, the distribution of the patches, right?
Hmm.
Meanwhile, the median time for detecting mass exploitation, okay, so the patch has been released, it gets out there, people are taking 50 days to do it. 5 days later, it's being exploited everywhere. That's a big gap. And I think that is not only a gigantic takeaway from this report, but it means you and I were right.
Mike loves talking about when he was right. I just want everybody to know that.
Mhm.
Hey, back to health insurance or health care for a second, and insurance.
Yeah.
Kaiser had a big breach, and it's going to affect a lot of people.
Yeah. Yeah. Kaiser had a breach. And I remember the tracking pixel
Yeah,
that was
yeah, the meta,
reporting all kinds of data
yeah, the
back to
meta pixel.
Meta,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
right? Well, apparently Kaiser was doing that.
yeah.
And
So
I don't know if it was the pixel thing, but they were doing, some kind of marketing, and it shared
you
patients'
know,
information with third-party advertisers, Google,
stupid marketing
Microsoft,
people.
Twitter.
What is up with these marketing people?
I,
Really?
don't, I can't explain them. I have really put a lot of thought into this, and I just cannot explain them.
All right. And just to be clear, Kaiser didn't have a cyber breach. This was they gave patient data to advertisers and disclosed it and therefore breach. Like
Right.
that's the kind of breach, not like, yeah, this was as self-inflicted as you
Wasn't
get.
not a bad guy smash and grab. Yeah.
It was a good guy smash and grab.
Uh, yeah, sure. Google, Microsoft, Twitter. Those are the good guys. Yeah.
Good. I was curious. I didn't know.
Okay.
Common spirit breach, that happened a while ago. One of the things we see after all the hospital breaches is, the cadre of lawyers that show up to
Right.
file class action suits. And it looks like this one's going to be dismissed. And Mike, and this is a big deal. This one being dismissed, others being dismissed, maybe, there's some precedent here.
And I do think this is going to be a precedent, right? Because as we have discussed, California Consumer Privacy Act, California Privacy Rights Act, and other state privacy statutes create a private right of action. That means if your record is disclosed, you can sign up as a plaintiff to that class, and then lawyers make a lot of money.
Yep.
And what they're saying is because the plaintiffs failed to show how they were harmed by the breach. Okay, so your record was disclosed. Did you experience some kind of fraud? Did somebody buy a car in your name, get a mortgage as you? Did something like that happen? The answer is no. So, I've said, you and I have talked about how we're kind of doing this to ourselves. Every
Yep.
time a hospital gets tipped over,
Yep.
in comes a class action suit. What do you think is going to happen to our healthcare sector?
That's exactly right. That's
So
exactly
this
right.
precedent, I think, is exactly what we need right about now.
Well, I mean, the last thing hospitals need is more class actions.
Yeah.
I don't, and by the way, the people who defend the class action lawsuits are the people who prosecute them, people who bring them, rather, is the right way to say that. The people who bring them would say, well, they're looking for meaningful change in, in cybersecurity practices. I got to tell folks that I think that might work in other industries. I have not seen it work in healthcare. I haven't seen a single hospital say, "Oh, we're going to get this class action lawsuit, therefore we need better security."
Right.
That's not even part of the conversation. Whether it should be is, that's another topic, but it is most certainly not.
Yeah.
Where I think with other businesses, class action lawsuits have made great change. Right, class action lawsuits are part of the judicial system for a reason. I just haven't seen them have the positive change that you might want to have in healthcare.
Well, there is a positive change coming, and it's what Congress is doing, right? So Congress, especially Senator Wyden from Oregon, all right, we never should have
Mhm.
let this company get this big. So there's going to be a little, anti-monopoly sentiment that's a result of all of this stuff. And I think they're going to
We'll
break things
see.
up. And, if we don't have these single points of failure, we can't have these gigantic events anymore, which, okay, that's great.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. I mean, I'm not sure Congress is going to get that one through, but
Mm,
we'll find out. We'll
mm,
find out. All of a sudden, Congress seems to be getting along, except for the fringes, and yeah, we'll see.
yeah.
Um, Ransomware payments are way up. That
Yeah.
is a story that came out this week that surprised me because I had thought that ransomware payments would be going down. What's behind this one?
Well, what we saw, the incident rate of ransomware has gone down.
Yeah.
The extortion demand has gone up, and they're saying it's up 500%, and now it's an average of $2 million.
Yeah.
So, when you start looking at numbers like that, it starts to really make a lot of sense. The risk management of investing $50,000 in controls, to avoid, a $2 million event, and then the long tail, which can include a class action suit, right? Customer flight, all of the things that
Yep.
happen. Now it's starting to make a lot of sense. You better make those investments. This is straight up risk management. You
Yeah.
know, I'm going to spend a little bit, and I'm going to avoid the potential for paying out a lot.
Yeah. Speaking of organizations that should be doing more for their security, water organizations, water sewer organizations.
Yeah.
What there's been, remember last week we talked about, that the bad guys made what was it, something overflow. It
It was
wasn't a dam.
a tank at a little town in Texas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now we're seeing, we're seeing the House back to Congress. We're seeing the House actually take action on this. What's going on there, Mike?
So remember EPA tried to say, hey, we want a risk assessment every year, and 3
Hmm.
states sued. That's an unfunded mandate. Then
Yep.
they came out with tips for cybersecurity in the water sector, and they're doing everything they can. Well, now the House has introduced a bill to establish a risk governing body for water.
Hmm.
And the idea here is they're going to, bring subject matter experts in and a lot of representatives from the water sector, and they're going to create agreed upon standards that everybody will say, okay, we will do this.
Yep.
Hopefully part of that conversation is going to be, and how is this going to get funded? Because they're going to have some kind of incentive to do this, because otherwise it's still an unfunded mandate. It's just not required.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, and I want to go back to that Texas town, with CISA calling it, like, what are they calling it? Nuisance hacks? Is that what they're calling it?
Yeah, that's okay. So they're saying that CISA is saying that the Russians are targeting U.S. infrastructure with what they're calling nuisance hacks. Yes. And specifically wastewater systems. They're saying, and this is troubling in the Pacific Northwest, dams, energy, and food and ag. Not for food and ag so much, but for dams and energy, because our lights come from falling water.
Hmm.
And, that puts organizations like, I hate to say it out loud, Seattle City Light, particularly at risk,
Hmm.
because their energy comes from dams.
Interesting. Very interesting. Yeah, I mean, but I mean, the idea of doing these small hacks and not doing a large one, I mean, I don't know. We'll see.
Well, they're successfully getting us to freak out. you
They
know,
are. They are. They are.
the pearl clutching that goes on after, a town of 5,000 has a water tank overflow. You know, that's not such a big deal, but somehow we use that to say, oh no, now we need new regulation. We got to figure out how to get the water sector straightened out. And it's true, all these little water utilities, there is no thought to security, because the idea is availability. The stuff has got to run and it can't stop. So it's, people don't put time into patching things like firmware and
Yeah.
PLCs. So eventually somebody's going to find them.
Yeah. And you say pearl clutching so much, I feel like I should send you some pearls so that
Okay.
when you say that, when we're doing this, you can hold up the pearls. So
Mhm.
every time you say pearl clutching, I can hold up the pearls, something like that.
Something like that. Okay, we'll work
Yeah,
that
yeah,
out.
yeah. Hey, and there's a story you put at the top of the blast, and at first I was surprised that you put it at the top of the blast, but then sort of realized why. Temu,
Yes.
is this Chinese company
Yes.
that they had a Super Bowl ad. They they have a million Google ads. They must spend just an enormous amount of money on retargeting. I mean, oh my gosh, so much.
Yeah, they just
So
follow you around the internet everywhere you go.
yeah, but I mean, for a very long time, it's they must spend a lot. So what happened with them this week?
Well, so lawsuits is what happened to them this week, and so they're being accused of customer privacy violations. And we
Mhm.
we have talked about this, and I even worked this into our security awareness training. Don't use Temu. Here's why. And there was a study done on the application that they're really trying to push on you, and the study said every bad thing a phone app can do, this one does. And now I don't know if it's the same organization. I didn't dig into it, but they're accused of intentionally putting malware, spyware into their app to give the app access to essentially everything you have on your phone. Don't use this service. This thing is, there's other stories about how they're evading tariffs because the size of the transactions is so small.
Yep. Yep.
This is a bad, don't do business with them. Don't.
All right. Threats and vulns, Mike. What do you got?
Okay. Let's see. Let's bring up the Palo Alto stuff again, because if it's taken 55 days for the average, organization to get his stuff patched, this interactive exploit, we have had customers that we saved from this. So you got to get to patching. North Korea and fake job ads again, right? Be very suspicious of job ads that you get, job offers. This one's kind of important, and you'll see why in a minute. So there are fake Chrome updates out there. And so on a web page, a pop-up says, hey, you need to update Chrome. Click here. Okay, what you're going to be downloading is called Brokewell malware, and it's going to target your bank. Okay, so it's going to go after your login credentials when you log into your bank. So this is the only time I'm going to say this. Don't patch Chrome. Moving on.
You don't really mean don't patch Chrome, but
No, it just
does
patch it the right way. Okay, you exit, you restart, and it's patched. That's it. All right. Honeywell has come out, and they're saying that there is increasingly USB malware attacks on operational technologies, right? Industrial organizations, things like manufacturing, right, or utilities.
Yep.
And the takeaway there is, if somebody can stick a USB drive in a bathroom or in a parking lot, they have physical proximity to you. All right. This is not somebody necessarily working on the other side of the world. If they are, they're in collusion with somebody here domestically. But again, we have a burgeoning domestic problem. If USB sticks are being used more and more in customers' industrial environments to, take them over, and do things like defeat air gaps, because that's kind of what they're designed to do. That means we got people right here.
Yep.
Last one I'll tell you about, there's a programming language called R, and it's an incredible math language, and it needs to be patched because there's a vulnerability that will allow arbitrary code execution. So get your R patched.
Okay. All right, Mike, at the end of all these, you have a kicker, something to make people laugh. You have one and I have one today. Go for it.
Okay, the one I will tell you about that I thought was a little humorous is, okay, you get the scams from that say your package has been delayed or whatever. It's U.S. Postal Service, right? I mean, they come a UPS, FedEx, everything, right? But what they're finding out is that the fake USPS sites that have been set up for these scams get just as much traffic as the real USPS site. And at holiday time, when their package is being delivered everywhere, they get more.
Oh,
We are doomed. We are absolutely doomed.
That is painful. All right, you ready for mine?
Yeah.
So for people not in the Pacific Northwest, there is a zebra on the loose in the Pacific Northwest. There was a large, large
zebra transport vehicle.
Yeah. With 4 zebras crashed. 4 zebras on the loose near North Bend, Washington, in the Cascade foothills. 3 captured. 1 is still out there, And actually, they did some horseback riders just saw it yesterday. Okay, now the number of people using AI to build like zebra looking at space needles, zebra with Sasquatch, zebra with
I saw that
Bigfoot.
one.
Oh my gosh, it is just fantastic. If you have not seen this, this is, Mike says the internet is for three things. What, Mike? It's steal from you. What are the three
Sell
things
to
the internet's
you,
for? Sell to you.
steal from you, and manipulate your opinion.
Okay. And number four, to make you laugh. Because look at the zebra pictures of AI. They are fantastic. I can only imagine that there's some poor AI engineer in San Francisco wondering why the entire Pacific Northwest is using
Wants to see this.
ChatGPT to create images of Sasquatch and zebra together.
That's the one I saw that was so funny. Bigfoot riding a zebra in the Cascade Mountains. It's kind of perfect.
It is perfect. All right, everybody. Have a great day. Thanks for joining us. Mike, go get the zebra.
Going after the zebra right now.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.